Hi, so this is my open letter pre-write assignment for the project. Going into number one, what are some issues that I care about? Um, so the first one that I would like to briefly touch on is the tariff wars that's currently unfolding here within the United States. That's been a big issue that's been kind of swirling around in my mind. Another one that's been also on my mind lately has been about how artificial intelligence and the uses of AI on art, and how that is impacting artists, and how does that, um, essentially, how does that impact corporations when they are using it? And how does the public feel about corporations using that AI to promote their products? And how does that exactly affect artists themselves, small artists, big time artists, and what is the wavering thoughts about how AI impacts them? And the last one is not really essentially like a major issue. It's just something that's been going around in my inner circle of friends that we've been talking about recently. But there seems to be some sort of like trend or pattern of like companies being very stingy or not really wanting to take risk with their own intellectual properties, and therefore they seem more concerned about profit than what listening to what their essentially their customers would like to see. And it's been very interesting to see how some corporations been handling that. um, so going into number two, um, I will start off with the reasons why I chose that these issues are important, regarding with number one, going off on the tariff war. Um, the tariffs, essentially, that our president has imposed, I think are important because they affect not only the citizens that are living here in this country, but they will have a long term impact on pretty much within this world. It's pretty impactful, and I am curious to see like what will be the long term effects about it. Um, I've been hearing a lot of it on the news. Been asking about opinions from my father about it, and any of my other friends that been hearing about it, especially friends from abroad, and seeing their perspective on how they are viewing our country and or the impacts of the tariffs and how that may affect them. Um, but yeah, I definitely been seeing people talk about these issues on the TV, social media, in the news. Not so much at the community college, but definitely more within my inner circle in the media. For the second um, point that I have, the issue with the AI art, um, I think it's very important to take a moment to realize that when we are using AI art, we are essentially taking the work of other people to feed and train the artificial intelligence in order to gain an understanding of the art that it creates. So when companies are training their AI machines, they are essentially grabbing the works of other people who may or may have not consented to their art being used for training material for these AI purposes. and therefore that's an infringement on either their, as an artist, their own intellectual property themselves, because you have a right to what you make. Um, but then how is that affecting companies when they are cutting loose artists and choosing to use the AI art to promote their products, which may or may not reflect the actual product in real life? Um, and then the consumers, when they see the AI art, are they being more supportive of it, or are they not? Now, in my opinion, I think from what I've seen, some companies recently have posted AI art, um, instead of using actual artists to promote the products. And that has not intended a very good response back from the public, more of a public backlash. Um, because I think when it comes to AI art, people seem to be a little bit more aware of that AI kind of takes away not only the jobs from the artists themselves, but it also takes the work of other people to feed that AI machinery. And so it makes the company seem like they're finding the cheapest way out. It makes them look lazy. They don't care about ethics or respect art as a medium themselves. So that I've pretty much seen more on social media and within my inner circle, not so much on the TV or TCC. Um, and so that's a little bit more of a personal kind of issue that I feel closely connected with, because I enjoy doing art. I've been um, trying to improve on doing art, and it's a great medium to really indulge yourself in. You have like unlimited imagination, so it does seem like when people just choose to do AI art and then look down upon actual artists and say that their AI art is more superior than those who've taken time to learn how to art. If it's kind of hurtful in a way. So that's why I chose that one. Um, and for the final one, with the corporations kind of ruining their own IP or intellectual products, this is more so of companies. Fans have been asking for like companies to release movies that they worked on, but they won't for some reason. So it seems like they're creating movies and for a tax break, or they don't make the sequels because the original movie didn't make enough money, or they're not listening to what the fan base is saying is problematic, and therefore that the consumers don't want to engage with the products as much. So it does seem like the head of the companies only seem like they want to cater to a certain set of populations than actually taking the time to listen to the whole general consumer base as a whole. Um, because there's been some companies producing their own intellectual products for quite some time over the span of like, let's say 20, 30 years, and they're still kind of following the same formula, but the fan base are not, if it's a kind of like a repeated formula, then the fans are going to be asking for something new, to kind of like refresh things up. But the company still seem adamant about the success of ABC, but fan base wants XYZ now. So there seems to be some sort of like disconnect on the company level of engagement, and it doesn't make sense because they could, if they're so adamant about making money, they could be making money by listening to the consumers instead of just putting the horse blinders on and looking only straight forward, instead of expanding out and taking some risks, and seeing how other people would react to new changes. So number 3, considering an audience. For number 1 with the tariffs, I think the audience should be the whole world, and definitely the citizens within the United States, because that is something that's going to impact people from all walks of life, no matter where you're from, what you've done, who you are. This is going to have some sort of significant impact on you in regards, in some manner or some way, because just because one country does it, who's to say that maybe 50 years down the line someone else decides to try to do the same playbook in a different country. So history does have a way of repeating itself, so it could be something that happens again. Not necessarily happens right now in the present. It could be something that happens in the future as well. So I think it's something that we should try to be more aware of now, so that we can try to prevent something from this like this from happening again in the future, even if we don't have like the direct power of, let's say, one individual who's making all the decisions. We do have a voice in a majority. So I think that's why we should care about that issue. As far as number 2 on my list of issues, I think it would be important to say that AI in general should be something that we're closely looking at, because right now there's no regulations on AI and the usage and how it's being used, and the types of AI that you can use. So right now there is also a thing that I heard that some of the Google images, you cannot decipher what is actually real and what's not. And there's also the other, I guess, horrifying implementation of using AI for art, is that it can only replicate the same sort of patterns so many times. So it's just like it's like a snake eating its own head. It will replicate the same thing over and over until it feels a mockery of its original work. So I fear that once AI has gone too rampant and out of control, it's going to be too late to put regulations in, because damage has already been done. It's already done enough damage to small artists who constantly has to try to defend their works on being, when people doubt that they put the actual work into their final product, and they have to show proof that, yes, this is my own art and I did not do this using AI. It is very damaging to the community as an artist, and it's also very damaging, I think, as a society when we choose to prioritize using artificial intelligence to replace the individuals with imagination and the ability to create things with their own mind over a computer or a system that has to rely on other people's works and imagination to learn in itself in the first place. So I think that is something that we should care about generally as a whole, as within the United States, within the world, because like I said, once this goes out of control and things start to go haywire, it's probably going to be a little too late to put regulations in, because right now we're looking at the wild west of AI usage. And as far as the third one with the corporations kind of ruining their own intellectual properties, I think those who are more engaged with the intellectual properties in general are going to care more about these issues. Um, the people that should really care about these issues are the executives that are on top of these corporations, and they need to be more engaging. And I think they also need to realize that they need to take more risks with their products instead of following a simple formula that they followed for the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years and expect that people won't be tired of the same narrative, or when people are asking for sequels to another movie or a different product, but they still insist on this is how we're gonna do it, and you're wrong, and they're saying that to the consumers. Um, for number 4, if I had to choose one of the issues, I probably would choose the AI. Um, I think I would just tell them about how, first of all, how AI works as a machine and how you need to feed information to it in order for it to understand parameters that it can create things in. And then I would go about telling them pretty much what I said in number 3, and how that people works are being used against their consent. They can't consent to this if people are just going behind their backs and feeding the machine to train their AI. So it is stolen works that they're using. And then since there's no regulations, there's nothing to protect these artists from their works being protected from being used as an AI instrument. And then for it to be considered somehow the more appropriate solution to saving money for a corporation to fire people who have the talent to do a wide variety of things, and it would be cheaper just to type in some words into a keyboard and then be presented with the image or video of something that they're hoping would be feasible and pass off to the public as acceptable. But again, these are creating systems that are using intellectual works of our artists that cannot consent to the works being used. So where's the gray line on it being acceptable and unacceptable when there's no regulations in order for it to be protected? And I think, like I said, once this gets out of hand and too much damage has been done, because how it's affecting Google Images, how it's affecting small businesses, large businesses, and if AI users continue to use this particular product, we can also see the damage being done in our environments with the amount of energy that it's taking to train these products of the AI models, and for the inquiries that it takes for the machine, how much electricity it's using. And so these very physical manifestations of using AI, and there's no regulations against them. So once we start to see that we can't trust our own search images or the environmental effects of AI, once we try to regulate that, it may be too late, and that's what I fear about that.